seems like
so we're talking about problem 19.2, right? Okay. So, yeah, the camera only gets the board anymore, luckily. Let's see. So, right, let me write the language on the board though. So what looks like the biggest hurdle? What's in the picture? That's the highest, good, okay.
So it's A to the M, B to the N.
A to the N or M?
A to the M, B to the N.
Such that either N equals 2M
Yeah, or
yep.
or the other way around.
I'm going to do parentheses to save my sanity. Cool. Okay, so we need to make a CFG such that it generates all the strings in this language,
Yeah.
right? How's it going? So, hey.
Hi.
So we're talking about 19.2 right now.
Okay, cool.
Gonna hold this for a second while they show us. So we don't have to hear all that. So, do you remember CFGs? So I was encouraging lecture 13, right?
Yeah.
So, I recommend opening lecture 13 in addition to lecture 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because lecture 13, unfortunately it's not at the top of the page. It's like down a little past the middle of the page, I think. But like, as we were just discussing, like one of the main ways people are losing credit in this class is not being formal enough. And so like when he brings up like a CFG, just go find where he specifically says exactly how to define a CFG and just follow that. Like we have an intuitive understanding of what a CFG does, but like if you don't follow that rubric, you're risking missing some of the formalism, which can get you caught on homeworks and lose you points that are kind of obnoxious points to lose, right? Because they're like easily avoidable things in some sense. It's just about syntax almost. Okay, so right, do you remember what CFGs are though, right? It's all like Chomsky normal form stuff. Those are all CFGs. So we want to make a set of rules basically. What is it? Variables, terminals,
Production rule.
Production
and then
rules.
Start state.
And start state, right. So most of this happens in the production rules, right? So our first rule needs to be S to something, where S is our start state. Okay, so I already did one of the things of the for tuple, right? This is our start state. Done with that. Okay, variables and terminals, I'm just going to wait till after I figure out the production rules.
Wait, so start state is just some arbitrary start state?
Yeah, you make up the variables and you make up the terminals,
okay.
and then you have to pick, like I could put apple here, and then just say apple's my start variable. But I want to do S because that's what we've been using, and it also just makes more sense. So, does anybody have any ideas about the first rule? Because I think the first rule is going to be pretty important. What's the tricky part of generating only strings in this language? So, okay, could we generate strings? Let's do something easier. Let's generate strings that have a bunch of A's and then a bunch of B's.
Okay,
any number.
So it can either start with an A and have an A after it, right? So you want to start with an A and have an A after it, or you want to start with an A and it has a B after it, or it just starts with a B, right?
It can't. So it can't start with a B.
Oh, it can't start with a B. That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's do something easier. Let's try and make M and N equal. Okay, so what can we do to do that? Every time we generate an A, what should we also be generating?
A B.
If we want them to be equal, yeah. So and they don't have to be Chomsky normal form, right? So we can make isn't so bad.
But they're not next to
Think
each
about
other,
the parentheses
though, right?
stuff. Well, okay, so I want it to be all A's and then all B's, right?
Yeah.
So I know if I generate an A, let's say, I don't want to actually do this rule yet. Do I? Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, so we'll generate nothing, right? Empty strings in this language. Right? Because if one of these is 0. Did I do empty backwards?
No, I think it's good.
No, you're right. No, I was wrong. Cool. So if we generate anything though, if we generate an A, we need a B. But then if we want to add more A's and B's, where should we be adding them? There are only 3 places.
So could it be like ASB maybe? Or
So yeah, that would do it, right? This is already, we're done. If we wanted these to be equal.
Mhm.
It's very similar, it's the balanced parentheses thing essentially with one type of
Gotcha.
parentheses, right? In this case, but it's harder than this because we have to meet these criteria, right? So if this isn't right, we can leave the epsilon.
This is only if m equals n.
Yes, which is not the case,
Mhm.
except at 0, which we've accounted for by epsilon.
With epsilon. Yeah.
So this rule definitely isn't what we want.
so could you like make a variable in a new variable in the middle that would then point to like one of those cases, either n equals 2m or 2n
That's
equals
basically
m?
exactly what you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is the nicest way to do this? There's a couple ways, but okay. What's your recommendation for a strict rule though? What if we want to say we're doing this case?
Because I was thinking like AATB.
And T is this case, so let's put a T
Yeah.
here. Yep, this is one of the main solutions I was thinking. Okay. And then what would our other case be? I'm gonna switch it to P and Q.
Okay, that's good.
What do I like better? You know, I'm gonna switch it to N and M, big N and big M, because this
Yeah.
is larger in this case and M is larger in this case. That's weird. Oh, the A, we need to do it backwards, right? We did it backwards. It's A, N, B, B, right? Because then N is 1.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And
my
M
bad.
is 2. Yeah, it's like weird. Anyways, so this is the N case. This is this case. And then the other case is what?
AAMB.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Okay. Cool. So A N B B and AAM B.
Okay. Those seem like really promising starts for production rules. Now let's define a production rule for N.
Guessing it would be empty string or ANBB.
I like that.
Mhm.
And then M. Why don't you give this one a shot?
Just empty string.
And
AAMB.
Okay, so now thinking in the formal definition, what are our variables? Formal definition of a CFG.
So SNM.
Yep. S, N, and M are all variables. And what are our terminals?
A and B.
And what is our start variable? Is that what it's called? Start variable?
Start symbol.
Start symbol. Sorry. I mean, it's always it's a variable.
So that would be S.
Yep. And then what are our production rules?
Well, we
Just
have
what we wrote.
Okay.
That's it. Right? That's a CFG.
Yeah.
That's not the whole question though, right? There's
Yeah.
a little bit extra.
So now we have to take we have to take this. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
This string, and we have to play a parsing game on it.
Is that build a parse tree? I didn't read this.
No, so here,
lectures.
wait.
He has a definition of a parsing
Yeah.
game up there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just like or you can look at it. He just takes the string and then you move like a dot, basically traversing over each like character, and then you kind of reduce what's to the left of the dot to like a
You
variable.
mean to the? Oh yeah. I see what you're saying. Yep. So just, do you guys think you can handle that part?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope.
Yeah.
I'm just
Cool.
gonna do it here.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think the audience can also handle that part. The main, I would say the critical observation for this question is to split it into two cases from the get-go with the N and M. So that's good to pick up on that. Okay.